Friday night started off like any other. My wife, Andrea, was heading out for her usual girls' night. It had become a routine over the past few months, something she did every couple of weeks. Though I wasn't thrilled about her friends, 2 of them were single and the other 2 divorced, I never made a big deal out of it. I figured it was her way of unwinding, recharging from the stresses of life. That evening, she left around 7 p.m., dressed in a form-fitting red dress I hadn't seen her wear in years. She looked stunning, undeniably so. "You look nice," I said, trying to offer a genuine compliment. "Thanks," she replied flatly, barely glancing my way as she grabbed her purse and headed toward the door. Her indifference stung, but I let it slide. Things between us had been strained lately. Andrea had been complaining that I wasn't attentive enough, that I didn't appreciate her. It didn't seem to matter what I did. Bringing home flowers earned a forced smile. Offering dinner dates was met with claims of exhaustion. Even suggesting we watch her favorite shows together didn't work. "You're just doing this to make up for things, not because you actually want to," she'd say with disappointment in her voice. I was trying, though. I'd been working hard to get ahead so we could afford the vacation she had been talking about for ages. I thought that was what she wanted, but even my efforts to balance work and quality time seemed to backfire. Still, I never expected what happened that night. By midnight, I started to feel uneasy. Andrea had never stayed out that late during her girls' nights. 1 o'clock passed, then 2, and then 3. My worry turned to frustration as I sat on the couch, the TV muted, pretending to scroll through my phone. It was almost 6 in the morning when I finally heard the familiar sound of her car pulling into the driveway. The door creaked open, and Andrea walked in, looking nothing like the woman who had left hours ago. She was now wearing a loose black tank top and leggings. Her makeup was smudged, and her hair was a mess. The smell hit me before she even spoke, a potent mix of sweat, perfume, cologne, alcohol, and something else, an unmistakable musk. "Hey," she said casually, as if it was any ordinary night. I stared at her, trying to keep my voice steady. "You changed clothes." "Oh, yeah." "I spilled a drink on my dress," she said quickly, avoiding eye contact as she set her purse on the counter. "And you didn't think to text or call? Let me know you'd be out all night?" Her shoulders tensed. "It was girls' night, Michael. Do I really need to check in with you every 5 minutes?" "It's common courtesy and respect," I said, standing up from the couch. I was sitting here worried, wondering if something had happened. And then you come back in different clothes, smelling like— I don't even want to say it. A flicker of guilt crossed her face before she masked it with defiance and anger. "Are you accusing me of something? If you are, just say it." My heart was pounding. "Fine. Did you sleep with someone tonight?" Her expression flickered, first defiance, then something that looked like triumph mingled with intrigue. Her eyes darted away, just for a second, but it was enough. "You're being ridiculous," she said coldly. "Your trust in me is so low that you immediately jump to that conclusion?" "Don't lie, Andrea," I said firmly. "Just tell me the truth. Don't make this worse." But the truth hung thick between us, unspoken but undeniable. The night was heavy with silence as she stood before me, arms crossed tightly over her chest. Her defensive stance wavered, cracking under the weight of the unspoken tension between us. Finally, she broke the silence with a whisper, her voice trembling. "It was just one time. It didn't mean anything." The air seemed to vanish from the room, leaving me gasping for breath. My chest tightened, and a dull roar filled my ears. I stared at her, disbelief and anger coursing through me. She said nothing more, her gaze fixed on the floor like it held all the answers to this disaster. "What the hell?" I finally managed, my voice raw. "What made you do this?" I took a step back, trying to rein in the fury threatening to explode. I clenched my fists, desperate to maintain control. I wouldn't lose myself to rage, wouldn't give in to the urge to lash out. She stood there, unmoving, her arms still crossed as though bracing herself against the inevitable fallout. Minutes passed in heavy, suffocating silence until reason finally cut through my blinding emotions. That was it. This was the end. Whatever we had was irreparably broken. I shook my head and exhaled sharply. You know what? It doesn't matter, I said coldly, my voice devoid of any warmth. I'm done. We're getting a divorce. The words shattered the last remnants of her composure. Her arms fell limply to her sides, and her eyes filled with panic. What? No, Michael, please. It didn't mean anything, she cried, stepping toward me with desperation. I backed away. No. Tears streamed down her face as she tried to explain. They told me it would teach you a lesson. They said you'd start appreciating me more if you thought you could lose me. Her voice cracked as she confessed, I thought I was doing it to get your attention, to make you stop ignoring me. It was a mistake. A bitter laugh escaped my lips. A mistake? You chose this, Andrea. You chose to hurt me. And guess what? You got my attention, just not the way you wanted. Her sobs grew louder, but I felt nothing but emptiness. I'm sorry, she choked out. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It was just physical. I love you, Michael. I shook my head slowly. Don't say you love me. Love doesn't cheat. Love doesn't come home and claim betrayal was some twisted way to teach a lesson. She reached for me again, but I gently pushed her hands away. Michael, please. We can fix this. No, Andrea, I said firmly, grabbing my jacket and keys. I'm done. I walked out without slamming the door, without shouting. I simply left, feeling numb to everything around me. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of change. I stayed with a friend and filed for divorce as soon as I could. Andrea bombarded me with calls, texts, and unannounced visits to my office, but I refused to see her. Her betrayal had carved a wound too deep to heal. Through her desperate pleas, I learned the full extent of the toxic influence her friends had wielded. 2 divorced women and 2 who had never had lasting relationships had convinced her that I was the villain in our marriage. They'd fed her insecurities, egging her on until she believed that infidelity was the solution to our problems. The tragic irony was that we might have had a chance, if only she had talked to me. Maybe we could have gone to therapy or found a way to reconnect. But now, none of that mattered. Marriage is built on trust, and once that trust is shattered, there's no going back. I learned that lesson the hard way. If you've done everything to make a relationship work, don't let someone cast you as the villain in their story. Have dignity. Respect yourself. And when it becomes toxic beyond repair, walk away. Keep moving forward. Keep choosing yourself.